Hi guys, welcome back. Welcome to Take It to Trial. Today is June 19th, and today we are traveling to a Florida courtroom in regards to the current trial that's live in place for Rodney Walker. He's accused of murdering a 14-year-old Nilexia Alexander in cold blood. He's on facing the death penalty. Of course, we got a young life that has been lost, a community that is in total shock, and now we're in a courtroom seeking justice. We do have a little TiVo time, so we will be able to fast forward through some of the sidebars, and I'm going to pull everything up, and we're going to go live into the courtroom with testimony. As you come in, shout out where you're from. If you have any comments, definitely share them. I'm interested in what everybody has to say. And let's get right into it. And we're going to be the judge. If there's any issues in regards to anybody hearing anything, definitely let me know, but we should be good. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Green.
Good morning.
If you can please tell the jury your name.
Jayla Green,
And Ms. Green, where do you live?
Miami.
How long have you been living down in Miami?
Couple months.
All right. And prior to living in Miami, where did you live?
In Tampa.
Okay. Did you grow up here?
Yes, sir.
All right. How old are you now?
17.
Okay. Did you know Nilexia Alexander?
Yes.
How did you know her?
Cousins.
You're all cousins. Did you see her from time to time back when she was alive?
We stayed together.
You stayed together? All right. So you had plenty of time to see her and know her.
Yes, sir.
You're very familiar with her.
Yes, sir.
Did you all hang out sometimes together?
Yes, sir.
All right. She was around the same age as you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Back when Nilexia Alexander was killed, did you talk to the police?
Yes, sir.
Did you let the police know about a phone that Nilexia had?
Yes, sir.
Were you aware that she had a phone that she hadn't told the other family members about?
No, sir.
Okay. The phone that you told about, how did you know about that phone?
We were asleep in our bedroom, and I seen a light come on. And prior to that, we both broke our phones at Adventure Island. So I realized that that light is coming from an electronic device.
Okay. And that's how you realized she had a phone?
Mhm.
And did you later learn or know that she used that phone to call 911?
Yes, sir.
And did you tell the detective about that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Green, I'm going to show you a quick video and ask you to take a look at it and I'll ask you a question about it afterwards. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Keep watching. It'll see. Ms. Green, do you recognize the person that was in that video?
Yes, sir.
And who was that person?
Nilexia.
And you're positive about that?
Yes, sir.
Want to have a moment, Judge?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Green, thank you.
Thank you.
They're going to ask you a question, so you need to wait.
Okay, sorry.
Any cross-examination?
Thank you, Judge, yes. Hi, good morning, Ms. Green.
Good morning.
I just have a couple of quick questions for you. This phone that Miss Alexander had, you said you knew she previously had a phone, but either got lost or broken.
Yes, it got broken because we both went to Adventure Islands.
Adventure Islands.
Yes.
Okay. The phones that Miss Alexander used, did she use social media a lot on the phones?
Yes.
And when I say social media, I'm talking about Instagram, Snapchat, things like that.
Yes.
Okay. Was that pretty common for her to do?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So know that you're okay. We just need to make sure the record's clear. Mr. Terry asked you about an incident that you were aware of where Miss Alexander called 911. Do you remember him asking about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to make clear that 911 call had nothing to do with the night that she was shot.
No, ma'am.
That had something to do with some other boys that she got into an argument with.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was sometime in either April or sometime before.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can I have a moment, Your Honor? Nothing else. Thank you, ma'am, for being here.
Can you redirect?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, you
Yes, no objection.
Ma'am, you're free to continue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, call your name, please.
The state will call Ashley Alexander.
So just so everybody knows where we're at in this, the mom is about to take the stand. So I'm not going to keep it paused too long. We're going to get right into it in regards to her testimony, in regards to everything. Okay, here we go. You know, just on a note, like, I'm a mom and I just couldn't even imagine having to go through something like this. So my prayers is with her and her family at this point in time, and continue to watch over her and her family during this difficult time, and having to relive and actually speak about these things out loud in front of a lot of people. Okay, I won't interrupt you again.
The testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you, ma'am.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Ashley Alexander.
Ma'am, are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you work?
Call center.
Okay. How long have you done that?
22 years.
22 years? If you can get closer to the
ma'am.
microphone, please. And
Turn that microphone down.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, ma'am, I'd like to ask you, do you know or did you know Nilexia Alexander?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know her?
I was her mother.
Okay. And were you her biological mother?
No,
How did you come in contact with Nilexia Alexander?
I adopted her.
And how did you go about that process?
I was her foster mother.
You could look this way, ma'am. Okay, thank you. You were her foster mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How long were you her foster mother?
2 years.
2 years. When did you become Nilexia Alexander's foster mom? What age was she?
She was
She was
2 years old.
2 years old. In the foster, when you go through the foster mother process, does it automatically go to a point where you can then adopt the child, or how did it happen in this particular situation?
She went through the foster care. Her parents lost legal rights, and I was able to adopt her.
Her parents did what?
Lost their legal rights.
Okay, and you were able to adopt her.
Yes,
Why
ma'am.
did you make the decision to do so?
I fell in love with Nilexia and her sister.
Okay, how old was Nilexia when she was ultimately adopted?
4.
And you said that you fell in love with her and her sister. How old was her sister?
1.
Okay. How old were you when you adopted Nilexia Alexander and her sister?
I was 27.
You were 27 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have other children?
No, ma'am.
Were you married?
No, ma'am.
You just elected to adopt 2 children
Yes,
on your
ma'am.
own?
Yes.
I'm just gonna fast forward through this part so we can get past that.
And at some point, did you tell her that she was adopted?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a conversation with Nilexia about her biological parents?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
And based on that, did that cause some type of reaction from Nilexia?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll ask you again. Did that cause some kind of reaction from Nilexia?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that reaction?
She started running away.
Okay.
Mhm.
And do you personally know why she was running away?
Looking for her parents.
Okay. At what age did she begin to do this?
11.
Okay. And when this would happen, when Nilexia would run away, did you file any type of report or notification?
Every time.
Okay. Did you make it clear to the police that she was running away?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna move past this. It looks like they're going for another sidebar.
Ma'am.
Okay. And at the time, when you received that call, was Nilexia Alexander at home on that day?
No, ma'am, she was not.
Okay. Based on that phone call, did you have to respond to a particular location?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Where did you respond to?
East 29th and Lake.
Okay. And is that in the Belmont Heights area?
It is.
Okay. And did you come in contact with anyone when you went to that location?
Other than the police department and Nilexia.
Okay. So you came in contact with law enforcement and Nilexia.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to listen to the April the 23rd, 2022 911 call?
Yes, ma'am.
And the individual that called 911, do you recognize the voice of that person?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that person?
It was Lexi.
Mm.
It was Lexi.
Okay. And you call her Lexi, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. But her official name is Nilexia.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the phone number that she called from, this 813-447-6234, is that a number that you had bought the phone for?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So that's a number you were not aware of. Is that
No,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay. Are you familiar with the area that you picked up Nilexia, this Belmont Heights area? in
Yes,
which
ma'am.
You are familiar with that area?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you familiar with that area?
I'm from East Temple. And I have family that stays in Belmont Heights.
Okay. Well, I would like to publish State Exhibit 3A1, Your Honor. Thank you. For the record, 35207, this individual walking towards a vehicle. Do you recognize that individual?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
The walk, the hair, the ponytail.
Who is that?
Miss Nilexia.
Okay. Do you recognize this vehicle
No, ma'am, I do
that she's
not.
walking towards? Okay. Publishing State Exhibit 3B.
Right.
Do you recognize the individual depicted in this video?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is that? Okay.
It's not Nilexia.
Okay. And do you recognize her in any particular way, based on any particular thing?
Her walk, her hair,
Okay.
skin tone.
Okay. Do you recognize this?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Do you recognize this vehicle?
No, ma'am, I do not. This vehicle here, do you recognize it? No, ma'am, I do not.
Did you know, and I'm talking about in May of 2022, did you know Ronny Walker?
No, ma'am.
Did you know Robert Creed?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Copy that.
No, we have no questions. Thank you.
Is what the excuse?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Did y'all notice that during her direct that the prosecutor had to stop her from, she's staring over there at the defense table, like she letting him know her pain, her hurt. Like she to the point the prosecution, as she's questioning her, she like, can you look towards me versus to looking towards him? Wow. Wow. I guess that, yeah, the defense, how you gonna question her at this point in time, right? It may go totally wrong or not in your favor.
The state's declining as witness.
Is she giving them that stare as she walking out that courtroom? But go ahead. I understand why.
The state would call Pauline Sterling. Anybody else?
Sure.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and move past this. We gonna go past these sidebars. Let's get the next witness. That's the one good thing about starting a little later. We can always move past all the breaks and sidebars and all that great stuff. So let me get us to the point where the next witness is on the stand. Okay, here we go.
Do you swear or affirm this testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Pauline Sterling,
Okay. Ma'am, where do you live? Well, what part of town do you live?
in Ocala.
Okay. Well, back.
Y'all see how her eyes is cutting? She definitely looking at the defendant over there. Her eyes is cutting. I wonder if the prosecution is going to direct her to look at her versus to looking at the defendant. But we'll see. One here.
In May of 2022, where did you live?
In Ocala,
Okay. Where did you work?
in Tampa.
Can you get closer to the microphone, please?
In Tampa,
Okay. On May the 6th of 2022, what business or what establishment did you work at?
Tampa General Hospital,
How long had you worked at Tampa General Hospital?
probably a year, 6 months to a year.
And what did you do there?
EVS, Environmental Services Aid.
Okay. Well, when you were working there, did you come in contact with someone named Erica?
Yes,
And have you since learned that her last name is Sweet?
yes.
Okay. How did you come in contact with her?
We worked together in the same department.
Okay. And were you friendly? And
We
did you
became
talk?
friendly, nothing past the job.
Okay. On May the 6th of 2022, did you have a conversation with Erica Sweet?
Yes,
And would that have been around the time frame of 3 p.m.?
yes, when we were getting off of work.
Okay. And based on that conversation, did anything transpire? Did anything happen?
She asked me,
Objection to hearsay.
Sustained.
Based on that conversation, did you come in contact with a person?
Yes.
Who did you come in contact with?
Her boyfriend?
Okay. Do you remember what his name was?
No.
Okay. Did you get into a vehicle with him?
Yes.
How did that come about?
Erica asked me to get in the car with him.
Okay. And was it for him to give you a ride somewhere?
Yes.
Where did he give you a ride to?
To my car.
Where was your car?
Up the road in Tampa General parking lots that they give you.
So is there like a shuttle or something that's
Yes.
supposed to take you from where you are to your car?
Yes.
And is that what happened?
Yes. I missed 2 shuttles and went with her boyfriend.
Okay. And while you were getting into the car, were you on the phone with Erica Sweet?
Yes.
And what was the phone number you had for her? Was it a 305 number?
Yes.
Do you still have that number in your phone today?
Yes.
And for the record, is that 305-910-9779?
Yes.
And we've previously confirmed that?
Yes.
Okay. When you got into the vehicle, where were you seated?
In the front.
Front where? Passenger?
Front passenger.
Okay. And was someone else in the vehicle?
Yes.
And who was that? Do you know?
No.
Okay. Did that person who was in the front passenger seat do anything upon your arrival?
Yes, he got out the back and went back to the front seat.
Okay, after you were dropped off. Is that what
Yes,
you're talking
after
about?
I was dropped off.
He got out of the back seat and got into the front passenger seat, correct?
Yes, that's when I learned he was in the car.
Okay. Otherwise, you didn't notice him?
No.
Okay. The person who was actually driving the car that day, was it in fact Erica Sweet's boyfriend?
Yes, that's what I was told.
Okay. Now, have you had an opportunity to watch video from Tampa General Hospital?
Yes, when the marshals came.
Okay. I am showing you what is in evidence as State Exhibit 17B. Let's see if I shut this down first. Okay, let's try again. Any help here? Oh, this might work. Let's see. Is this the vehicle that you got into?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is happening? This individual, is that the individual that you saw get out of the back seat and get into the front seat after you got out of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So just a heads up, the guy that just got out of the passenger seat to get in the back seat, he's going to be testifying today. So I'm interested to see what his testimony is going to be like, considering it was just supposed to be him, Ronnie, and Nilexia in the vehicle at the time the incident occurred. So we had that to look forward to today to see what his side of the story was, because from my understanding, they were going to charge him with murder, and he kind of like, hey, no, I didn't do it. Ronnie did it, and this is how he did it. So we'll see what he testifies to later on.
And is this in fact a particular area at Tampa General Hospital?
Yes, it's the front.
Okay. Is that you?
Yes.
Okay. So what are you doing at this point?
I'm handing the phone to her boyfriend
Okay.
on speakerphone.
Okay.
Could you say that again a little louder?
I'm handing the phone to her boyfriend on
Okay.
speakerphone.
All right.
I'm asking for a timestamp on the video for the record.
Right now, I don't have one. Okay. So you hand a phone to Ronny Walker at this point, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, I'm showing you what has been pre-marked as State Exhibit 17. It's sort of a composite exhibit. Are you the person depicted in these stills?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to this day, had you met the individual that was the driver?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The individual that was driving the vehicle, showing you State Exhibit shouldn't it be the document? The document, I guess. Thank you. State Exhibit E1. Is that the individual that was driving the vehicle?
Yes.
State Exhibit E4, is that the individual?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I have a moment? I have no further questions.
Your Honor.
Sorry, Mr. Erling, if you can bear with me for just a quick moment. All right, thank you. I'm sorry about that. Good morning, ma'am. How are you today?
Good.
Good. I'm putting back up on the screen States Exhibit 17B, and this is the video that you just watched where you identified yourself coming into contact with that black car, correct?
Yeah.
And this is at that valet area at the Tampa General Hospital.
Yes.
And just so that we have everything on the record perfectly clear, I'm pausing the video. You've identified yourself, but can you identify what are you wearing? What is something distinctive that we're seeing when you've identified yourself in this video?
I had a blue bag in my hand, children's place.
Okay. And are you also wearing, it looks like maybe a protective mask over your face at the time? Okay. And you at the time were working at Tampa General with Erica Sweet, correct? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And on this particular day, May the 6th of 2022, Miss Sweet left work early that day. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that why you, in fact, ended up going out to the car where Mr. Walker was?
Yes.
All right. And just so that we're clear, no one forced you to get into that car, right?
She offered me a ride. No
Right.
one forced me.
Okay,
No one
so-
forced me.
They've offered you a
Yes.
ride because you missed your shuttle.
Yes.
Okay.
She offered me a ride.
Erica Sweet did.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Walker, who was driving the vehicle, did he offer to give you a ride as well?
Yes.
Okay. When you got into the vehicle, you got into that front seat passenger side, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Walker drove you where?
Up the street to my parking lot.
To where your car was?
Yes.
Okay. And I certainly know you were not looking for this at the time, but when you were inside the car, did you see anything like blood anywhere?
No, ma'am.
Okay, did you see any bullet holes anywhere?
No, ma'am.
Did you see any shell casings or any gun components anywhere?
No, ma'am.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Nothing further. Thank you, ma'am.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
This wouldn't be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
No objection.
You're free to go, ma'am.
Thank you.
Statement before your next witness.
Identify Melissa Levine.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Terry, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
If you could please tell the jury your name and spell your last name for the court reporter.
My name is Melissa Levine, and my last name is Lavigene.
All right, and Ms. Levine, where are you currently employed?
I am in the biology section of the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in the Tampa Bay region
How long have you been working there?
since 2007.
What do you do there?
Currently, I'm a forensic technologist, but I've also was a senior crime laboratory analyst, which was my position when when I issued the reports. I examined items of evidence and tried to develop DNA profiles from those items.
What is forensic serology and DNA analysis?
So forensic serology is when I examine items of evidence for possible body fluids such as semen, saliva, and blood. And forensic DNA analysis is when I examine those items of evidence to try to develop DNA profiles.
Now, at the time, you just kind of quickly went over, at the time you submitted these reports, what was your title at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
I was a senior crime laboratory analyst.
All right, you're not in that position anymore?
Correct.
And that was that for personal reasons or?
Yes, for family obligations, I needed a little bit more freedom, so I requested to step down to a less demanding position.
Okay, but it had nothing to do with performance or anything like that,
Correct. It was by my request.
All right. What sort of training and education and background do you have?
So I have my bachelor's in biology, or bachelor's of science in biology from Florida State University. And some courses are relevant to a crime laboratory analyst is biochemistry, genetics, statistics, and molecular biology. Did you also ask me my training or no?
No, I was just sort of talking. But you know what I did? What
Okay.
sort of training did you have too?
I also completed the training program at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. It's a two-part process. The first part is when I do practice samples, which is a test on non-evidence samples. I read published literature. The second part is supervised casework, where I do examine items of evidence with a qualified analyst. And during both phases, I have to pass written and oral assessments.
And have you passed all those assessments?
Yes, I did.
Do you belong to any professional organizations?
I do not.
Okay. What sort of duties does a DNA analyst have?
So a DNA analyst will examine items of evidence. The analyst will write written reports and publish or testify when needed.
Is the lab you work at, is that accredited?
It is.
And approximately how many DNA analysis have you done, you think, in your career?
Oh, I have processed over 1,000 samples.
And as part of your work at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, correct?
That is correct.
And do you have a continuing training or continuing educational training as part of that?
Yes, for a crime laboratory analyst, I did.
Okay. And you don't have that as much anymore?
No, it's not part of my current position.
All right. And back when you were in that position, you had mentioned earlier you take proficiency tests. Did you continue to have to take those every year while you were working there?
Yes, as a crime laboratory analyst, I had to take 2 proficiency tests a year.
And have you passed every proficiency test you've been given?
I have.
Have you ever testified in court as an expert on DNA analysis?
Yes, I have.
Approximately how many times would you say you've done that?
Over 80 times.
All right. And is that some of that here in Hillsborough County and other counties as well?
Yes.
All right. Judge, at this time, I'd turn to the witness if they have any questions.
I have no blood iron listening.
Thank you. So, Ms. Line, if you can, please explain to the jury in the most simplest terms possible, what is DNA?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It's the code found in all of our cells except for red blood cells, and it makes us who we are. It's inherited. You get half from your mother and half from your father, and only identical twins will have the same DNA.
Okay. And where is DNA found? You said in every cell other than blood, red blood cells?
Yes, all of our cells except for red blood cells, but within blood are white blood cells, which do contain DNA.
Okay. What is the method of DNA testing that you used?
The type of testing I did was called STR testing.
And what is STR testing?
STR testing stands for short tandem repeat. I test specific areas of the DNA that are repeated over and over again.
How long has STR testing been used?
Since the early 1990s.
And is it generally accepted in the forensic science community?
Yes, it is the most widely used.
Now, when did you first become involved in the Ronny Walker case?
May I review my notes, please? The first items were submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement on May 25th of 2022.
And what items were you given to analyze initially?
I received fingernail clippings from the left hand and right hand, swabs from a tropical fantasy bottle mouth area, or mouthpiece, excuse me, swab of left hand, swab of right hand, swabs of red substance from evidence marker 1, swabs from suspected blood from marker E, a black jacket with a hanger, swabs from interior DSR door, buccal swabs from Ronny Walker, and a stain card from Nilexia Alexander.
What does a stain card mean, just so the jury understands?
A stain card is what I use as a known standard. So it is liquid blood taken directly from an individual and dried down onto a card. I use that for comparison purposes. So the DNA profile I get from that item is that individual's DNA profile.
All right, and the same with the buccal swab. What is that?
Buccal swab is also a known standard. It's taken from the inside of someone's mouth. So the DNA profile that I get from a buccal swab will be that person's profile.
And how are these items received by your office?
They are submitted by a contributing agency, and they are sealed and routed to me.
All right. And is it kept secure at your facility?
Yes. Once the items of evidence are received, they are stored in the evidence vault. When I am assigned the case, I will check out the evidence from the vault and take it into my custody. When I'm not actively working the items, I store them in a secure locker.
Are all these items packaged individually?
The ones that I listed, yes.
Judge, may we approach real quick, Ms. Dunker and I?
Yes.
sorry about that. So, well, when did you receive these items at your office when?
May 25th, 2022.
All right. And when did you start working on them?
June 15th, 2022.
Okay. What type of instrument do you use at Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
I'm sorry. I processed some evidence on June 15th, 2022, but I also processed some on June 8th, 2022.
All right. So again, what type of instrument do you all use there?
So I do use various types of instruments. One of the instruments that I use is called a genetic analyzer. That's what I run my DNA sample through to develop my DNA profile.
All right. And are these instruments inspected and certified on a regular basis?
Yes, they are.
Now, of the known samples that you received, the buccal swab from Ronny Alexander and the stain card from Nilexia Alexander, I'm sorry, Ronny Walker and the stain card from Nilexia Alexander, were you able to develop a known profile from these individuals?
Yes, I got complete DNA profiles from both standards.
All right. Now, let's go through these items that you received, and we'll kind of go through them individually to get your results. So let's start with, you mentioned you received fingernail clippings, correct?
I did.
All right, so we'll start with the fingernail clippings you received. Were you able to develop a DNA profile from any of those fingernail clippings?
I did. I got a complete DNA profile consistent with a female individual.
Okay. And were you able to make a comparison with that female individual?
Yes, I compared it to Nilexia Alexander, and it was a match. So she is expected to be a donor to this DNA profile because it came from her, and there was no foreign results.
Okay. And that's what I was going to ask you. So there was no foreign DNA in those fingernails.
Correct. So all the information I received from those items matched the DNA profile from Nilexia Alexander.
I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 21. And ask if you can take a look inside there. First of all, do you recognize any markings on that envelope?
I do. It has the unique FDLE case number as well as my initials and date.
All right. And what are the items in that?
So they are FDL items number 2 and the samples collected from item 2, which were the fingernail clippings and clipper.
Okay. And are those in fact the items that you analyzed?
Yes, they are.
Judge, at this time I moved to have State's Exhibit number 21 admitted into evidence.
Any objections? Will be admitted to state 21.
Now, you said she was an expected donor. What does that mean?
So when an item is taken directly from an individual, I would expect that person to be there. So for example, if someone collected a sample from my hand and I ran that for DNA, I would expect my profile to be there. So when I compare my DNA profile to the sample from my hand and it's a match, that means there's nothing foreign. If I happen to run the sample and there was DNA types in addition to me, that would be called foreign because those DNA types did not belong to me. So they were foreign to me.
And do you still verify that the DNA is consistent with the expected donor whenever you do these verifications?
Yes, I always compare the person who is expected to be there before I compare to another individual.
All right. Let's go to the next item that you analyzed, the swab of tropical fantasy bottle mouthpiece. Is that correct?
Yes,
So you weren't given the bottle itself. You were given a swab.
that is correct.
Describe for the jury what these swabs look like or what they're like.
So swabs are very similar to a cotton tip swab that you can get at the grocery store. Most of the time, they have a longer stick and just a swab on one side. However, we do get swabs with cotton on both ends. You can sometimes see these types of swabs in doctors' offices, but they're just cotton swabs that are used to collect sample.
All right. And are they kept securely encased?
Yes, once I receive the item, it is secured.
So this swab of the tropical fantasy bottle mouthpiece, were you able to develop a DNA profile from the swab of that bottle?
Yes, I had a complete DNA profile that was consistent with a female individual.
And were you able to make a comparison with Nilexia Alexander in this case?
Yes, I compared the DNA profile from the mouthpiece of the bottle to Nilexia Alexander, and it was a match.
All right. Was there any foreign DNA on that bottle? That swab?
It was only a single source profile, so all the DNA types that were on the bottle are consistent with Nilexia Alexander.
And do you calculate a statistical probability of a match when you make these findings?
The statistic I do is called a likelihood ratio. All that is it compares two different scenarios given the DNA evidence and expresses which is more likely.
I know my fellow court trial watchers. Yeah, this is just standard. We gotta match up some DNA and kind of some boring stuff here. It's kind of like the jury instructions, but we have to, this is part of proving whether a person is guilty or innocent. So we'll chime back in. Hopefully it's not a lot of evidence that had to be processed. Okay.
And what did you determine on that particular swab the statistical probability was?
The observed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Nilexia Alexander than from an unrelated individual. I know that's a mouthful, so I can break it down for you. So the two scenarios I'm comparing is if the DNA originated from Nilexia Alexander, and the other scenario I'm comparing is if the DNA originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. So again, the statistic is the observed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Nilexia Alexander than from.
Y'all see that over there on the courtroom table? Like they have the evidence. This is the evidence that they're going to be presenting. This is the first time that I've seen in a courtroom when we're live in a trial that the cameraman is actually providing a screenshot of this portion in regards to the evidence that's going to be submitted. Yeah, a different view. Okay, I like it.
An unrelated individual.
Okay. And you said greater than 700 billion. Is 700 billion basically where you all do the cutoff at that point?
Yes, it's our standard operating procedure. If the number is greater than 700 billion, it's capped there, and we just report out greater than 700 billion.
All right, thank you. The next item it looks like you analyzed was the item 6, which appears to be the swab of the left hand. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. What did you find with regards to this swab?
So I did a test for the chemical indications of blood. And then I did receive chemical indications of blood. And then I did DNA analysis on that item.
All right. And what did you find with regards to the swab?
So the DNA results from that item demonstrated the presence of a mixture. And again, I expected Nilexia Alexander to be present because it came from her hand. So I compared her to the mixture, and she is present in the mixture. There were foreign DNA results to her, which just means there was other DNA types that did not match her.
Okay. Did you make any comparison with that foreign DNA?
No, I did not. They were very low level. So due to the limited nature of these results, this data is not interpretable.
So data non-interpretable means you just couldn't make a comparison one way or the other, excluding or including any individual.
Correct.
So it's that small amount of a foreign DNA.
Correct. So there was just too little information for me to be able to use it for comparison purposes.
Now you had mentioned about a chemical indication of blood. Do you routinely check every sample to determine if the DNA is from blood or another source?
Not always, but if there is staining on the swab, I can test it to see if it's possible blood, or if I have an article of clothing and there's some staining, I do have the ability to test to see if there's possible blood.
And why did you test this particular sample for blood?
There should be staining, but let me verify my notes. Yes, I did see some red-brown staining, so I did test for blood.
Okay. Going to the next item, item 7. This was a swab of the right hand. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what were your findings for that particular item?
This item also gave chemical indications for the presence of blood. And then I did DNA analysis on this item as well.
All right. What was the DNA results?
The DNA results obtained from this item was a mixture. Again, I expected Nilexia Alexander to be a contributor to the mixture, and she is observed in the mixture. I did receive foreign DNA results to Nilexia Alexander.
Were those interpretable?
No, those foreign results were also limited and not suitable for, the data was not interpretable.
Now, item 8 is described as swabs of red substance from evidence marker number 1, correct?
Yes,
Did you test this item?
I did.
Now, do you provide the description of the items, or is that how they come to you?
It is how they come to me.
Okay, so when you receive the item and you pull it out of evidence, it will give just a general description of it normally?
Yes.
Okay. What were your findings to item 8, red substance from evidence marker 1?
I received a complete DNA profile consistent with a female individual.
All right. Did you compare that profile with anyone of the known samples?
Yes, I compared it to Nilexia Alexander, and it was a match.
And did you determine a statistical ratio with this particular item?
I did.
And what was that?
The
Sorry.
observed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Nilexia Alexander than from an unrelated individual.
Now, item 9. What was item 9?
Swabs of suspected blood marked E.
All right. And what did you do with that particular item?
I also tested that for the chemical indications of blood, and it was positive for the chemical indications of blood. I then tested for DNA analysis.
And what did you find?
A complete DNA profile consistent with a female individual.
And did you compare that with the known standard of Nilexia Alexander?
I did. The DNA profile matches the DNA profile from Nilexia Alexander.
All right. Now, item 10 is a little bit different. It's not a swab. What was item 10?
It was a black jacket with a hanger.
All right. And did you, what did you do with that? Since it doesn't come to you as a swab, you're just basically given a black jacket. What are you doing with that?
So I first look at the item of evidence and see if there's any staining I can possibly test for a body fluid such as blood. I did test for the chemical indications of blood, but it failed to give me chemical indications of blood.
Okay. So what else did you do anything else with the jacket?
I did. I then collected sample to possibly see who may have worn the item. So those are known as wearer swabs.
And how is that done?
So I just take a cotton swab and I moisten it with sterile DI water, and I rub it against the item in areas that might come next to someone's skin. So in this instance, I swab the jacket collar and wrist cuffs because anyone who's wearing that may rub some skin cells onto those areas of the jacket. So I take my swab and I rub it on those items to try to transfer any DNA from the area onto my swab to use for DNA testing.
And were you able to obtain any DNA from those swabs?
Yes, I obtained a mixture consistent with 3 individuals, including at least 1 male contributor.
All right. Did you compare that results with any of the known profiles you had?
I did.
And what did you find?
So I compared the DNA profile of Ronny Walker to the mixture, and he is included as a possible contributor.
Was he a major donor or major contributor?
I have to verify that. So in my mixture interpretation, there is a step where the amount each contributor is contributing to the mixture is estimated. So for example, if I have a mixture, one person can contribute 75%, one person can contribute 24%, and one person can contribute 1%. So within this mixture, Ronny Walker is consistent with contributing, I think it was 58%. Approximately 59%, which is the individual who contributed the most to the mixture.
All right. And what did you determine the statistical probability of that mixture being Ronny Walker?
So the observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Ronny Walker and 2 unrelated individuals than from 3 unrelated individuals. And I'll break this down again because it's a little different from what we heard before. So again, it's a mixture consistent with 3 individuals. So the first scenario I'm comparing is if Ronny Walker and 2 unrelated individuals may have left the DNA because that makes up the 3. And the other scenario I'm comparing is just 3 unrelated individuals.
Okay. So would you consider that a match for the Ronny Walker to the DNA found on the jacket?
So for mixtures, we use the word included, and Ronny Walker is included as a possible contributor to the jacket.
All right. There's in this first submission, there was one other item that was submitted. It says swab of interior DSR door, correct?
Yes.
And that was item 11. What did you do with that particular item?
I also tested this item for the chemical indications of blood, and I did receive chemical indications for blood, and then I did DNA analysis.
All right. So it was positive for blood?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what did you find in the DNA analysis of item 11?
For this item, I obtained a mixture consistent with 3 individuals, including at least 1 male contributor.
All right. And did you make a comparison with that item with the known samples that you had of Nilexia Alexander and Ronny Walker?
Yes, I first compared the standard of Ronny Walker to this mixture. It was represented as being from his vehicle. So since it's from his vehicle, I'm expecting him to be there. So I used him as his standard as an expected donor. I compared his profile to the mixture, and his profile is observed in the mixture. I then compared it to Nilexia Alexander.
And what did you find with Nilexia Alexander?
Nilexia Alexander is included as a possible contributor to this mixture.
And what was the statistical probability of it being Nilexia Alexander's DNA?
The observed mixed DNA profile is greater than 700 billion times more likely to occur if the sample originated from Ronny Walker, Nilexia Alexander, and an unrelated individual than from Ronny Walker and 2 unrelated individuals. And again, I'll step back and break the 2 different scenarios down. So the first scenario is Ronny Walker, because he's an expected donor, Nilexia Alexander, and an unknown individual to make up the 3. The second scenario is Ronny Walker, who's again, he was an expected donor, and 2 unrelated individuals.
Notice the line, that was the sum total of the submission from submission 1, correct?
For this report, yes.
Yes. Now you're also, are you routinely sometimes given, especially if it's a female victim, a sex kit, the swabbing of intimate areas?
Yes.
All right. Did you find any DNA related to Ronny Walker on that swab?
No, I did not.
All right. Thank you. Did you receive a third submission in this case?
I did.
All right. And what was submitted to you in the third submission?
So I received swabs from INT, driver's side front window switches button, swabs from front passenger door, and buccal swabs represented as being from Robert Creed.
All right. And what did you do with this submission?
So I examined these items for DNA analysis, and some of the items I also tested for the chemical indications of blood.
Now, the buccal swab represented as being from Robert Creed. Were you able to develop a DNA profile of Robert Creed?
Yes, I got a complete DNA profile.
Now, let's start with the swab from the INT driver's side front window switches buttons. What did you do with that item?
I first tested for the chemical indications of blood, and it failed to give the chemical indications of blood.
Okay. What did you do next?
I then did DNA analysis on this item.
And what did you find in that DNA analysis?
So the DNA results from this item demonstrated the presence of a mixture consistent with 3 individuals, including at least 1 male contributor.
All right. And did you compare that result with the known DNA profiles of both Ronny Walker, Nilexia Alexander, and Robert Creed?
I did.
And what did you find?
So again, this was represented as being from Ronny Walker's vehicle. So I used him as his standard as an expected donor. So I compared his profile to the mixture, and his profile is observed in the mixture. I then compared the DNA profiles of Nilexia Alexander and Robert Creed, and they were both excluded as possible contributors to the mixed DNA profile.
And you said excluded, meaning Nilexia Alexander and Robert Creed, that was not their DNA on there.
Correct. So their DNA types were not present in the mixture, so they could not have left the DNA on that item.
All right. And that was the driver's side front window switches buttons. You also did a swab from the next item was a swab from the front passenger door.
Correct.
What did you do with that one?
That one I also tested for the chemical indications of blood, and it failed to give chemical indications of blood. I then did DNA analysis on that item.
All right. And were you able to obtain a DNA profile from there?
So due to the limited nature of the DNA results, this data is not interpretable. So all that means it was very low level data. It was not enough information to use for comparison purposes.
All right, but to be clear, both item number 15, which is the swab from the interior driver's side front window switches buttons, and the swab from the front passenger door, neither one of them gave any chemical indication of blood.
Correct. They both failed to give chemical indications for the presence of blood.
Did you compare the now known sample of Robert Creed with some previous samples that you had?
I did.
And what did you find?
So I compared the DNA profile of Robert Creed to the mixture I obtained from the jacket, and he is excluded as a possible contributor to the mixed DNA profile. I also compared Robert Creed's DNA profile to the mixture obtained from the swab of INT DSR door, and it failed to demonstrate sufficient statistical support for inclusion or exclusion. Therefore, no determination can be made regarding the contribution of Robert Creed to this item. It's a mouthful. Basically, I can't say if he's a possible contributor or not. I don't know.
Okay. And when it comes to Robert Creed, we had talked earlier about Ronny Walker's DNA not being on the intimate swabs from Nilexia Alexander. Was Robert Creed excluded as well as being from that swabs?
Yes, he was excluded.
Did you receive any further submissions in this case?
I did not.
Judge Vaughn may have a moment.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Levine, thank you very much. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I want to start by asking you just some kind of general questions about DNA. So
Sure.
when we talk about leaving DNA behind, what exactly are we leaving behind, or what can we be leaving behind?
So, for example, if I handle an item of, if I handle something, I may be leaving some skin cells from my hand onto that item. If I swab the surface of something, it's possible that if someone spoke over it, sneezed over it, they may leave saliva, which can contain or contains DNA. If there is a red-brown stain, that could be possibly from blood, and that would also contain DNA.
Is someone always going to leave DNA behind?
Not always. Some people leave more DNA behind than others. It can also depend on the item itself. So, for example, if it's a rough item, more skin cells may come off on a rough item compared to a smooth item. If someone just recently washed their hands, they may not leave as much DNA behind when they handle something.
You spoke a little bit about mixtures. When we talk about a mixture, does that mean that two people left behind DNA at the same time?
No, it does not. All that a mixture means is that in my sample, there is DNA from more than one person.
So in a scenario with a mixture, could it be that two individuals left their DNA behind at two completely separate times?
Yes, that is correct.
Can you give a timestamp on DNA?
I cannot. I can't say when DNA is deposited on an item.
Can you tell how DNA was left behind?
I cannot.
All you can really do is look at the data and determine if a person's DNA profile is present in that profile.
Yes, that's all I can do.
You also mentioned the term a couple of times, complete profile. What does that mean? What is a complete profile?
So when I talk about a complete profile, that just means I received information at all areas I tested. Another option would be a partial profile, and that just means I received some information at some of the areas I tested, but not information at every single area.
Okay. And how many total areas were you testing for at the time that you tested DNA in this case?
21.
STR areas.
When you say STR, that's short tandem repeat.
Correct.
And so what you're looking, basically the steps that you're going through is when you get a swab or an item, you're making is it millions of copies or?
Many, many copies. Yes, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but yes, the sample is multiplied thousands of times in order to run it through the instrument to kind of intensify the sample in order to pick up the results.
And when we talk about short tandem repeat, what you're looking at after you run those thousands of copies or so is you're looking to see how many times a particular gene type repeats itself. Is that correct?
Yeah, so when I run a DNA profile and I look at an area, it's represented by numbers. And those numbers are the number of times the short tandem repeat is repeated, excuse me. So for example, at an area, someone can be a 1314. All that means is that they got 13 repeat units from one of their parents and 14 repeat units from their other parent. If they're a 1313, that just means that individual received 13 repeat units from both of their parents.
And when you talk about seeing more than one person at a particular area, does that become apparent to you if you are looking at a particular area or location on the DNA and there is more than two of those alleles?
Yes, a mixture is indicated when an area has more than two peaks at an area, because I'm expecting one peak from one parent and one peak from another parent. So if areas have more than two peaks, it indicates that there's more than one person present.
So the first step in your process, or maybe not the first step, but one of the first steps is to make these copies of the DNA, correct?
Yes,
And then you look at the overall results.
I do.
And those appear to you in numbers like on a graph.
Yes, the graph is referred to as an electropharogram.
And the first thing that you try and determine by looking at that electropharogram is whether or not this is a single source profile or if there are multiple individuals appearing.
Yes, I try to determine the number of contributors to the profile.
After you determine the number of contributors, then you move on to the comparison to the known DNA profiles that you have.
I do.
Okay. And you have a program or software that assists you in doing some of these things.
Yes, I do have a software that helps do the calculations for the statistics I perform.
But before those statistics are performed, you have to put in your own, basically your own assumptions that you're making as the analyst.
Yes, so I tell the computer program, I upload the mixture into the program. I tell it how many individuals I believe are present in the mixture, and I also tell it if I believe someone is an expected donor or not. And I also tell it what standards to compare for statistical purposes.
I want to draw your attention now to a couple of the specific items that you tested in this case. The first being FDLE item number 11, that swab of interior driver's side door. Now, the first thing I want to ask you about is you mentioned in relation to this swab as well as others that you tested for the possible presence of blood.
I did.
Is there a name for that test that you do?
Castlemeyer.
Is that the same thing or is it different than what is also known as a phenolphthalein test?
Yes, I tend to say Castlemeyer because I can't spell phenolphthalein. So.
Sorry about that. But those names are used synonymously.
Yes, so the test is phenolphthalein, but Castlemeyer is the person who developed the test.
And that is what we call a presumptive test, correct?
Yes.
And so it's basically looking to determine if there's a specific element or a protein in the item that you're swabbing.
So it's testing for a component of blood. So that's why it's chemical indications of blood, because I'm testing for a component present in blood.
Are there things other than blood that can give you a positive result in this presumptive test?
Yes, those are known as false positives.
Is there, maybe not used at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, but is there in your field a confirmatory blood test?
Yes, there is a confirmatory test for human blood.
And is that test utilized at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Rarely.
Okay. Was it used in this case?
I did not use it.
Going on then to your results as to this item, the swab of the driver's side door. You initially look at the results in your electropharogram, and you made the call that there were 2 contributors upon first looking at it. Is that correct?
When I did do the interpretation, yes. So during my interpretation process, I looked to see there was no area with more than 5 peaks. So if you remember how I said, each area will have, if there's one person, no more than 2 peaks. So if there's 2 people, I would expect no area with more than 4 peaks. So if I see an area with 3, that indicates 3 individuals.
So after you had done your initial analysis, I believe it was just before you were about to write your report, you then decided that you should go back and look at the mixture and assume that Ronny Walker was included in that mixture.
Yeah, so when I went to write my report, I was reviewing the information that was given to me from the submitting agency, and I saw it was represented as being from Ronny Walker's vehicle. So since he it's supposed to be from his vehicle, I can use him as an expected donor. So when I compared his profile as an expected donor, it then showed it was a mixture of 3. And the way that can happen is if, for example, there's an area with 4 peaks. And so, like I said, that can indicate 2 individual. But if someone is, so let's say I have 10, 11, and 12. But if, for example, the person is a 10-10, now I have 3 types left over. So the 3 types would mean it's 2 people in addition to the expected donor. So once I take the expected donor and use it for a mixture interpretation, it can change the number of contributors from my initial interpretation. And that's just the way mixture interpretation goes sometimes.
So after you decided to go back and assume Mr. Walker to be a contributor, that's when you then changed from 2 donors to 3 donors.
Yes.
Okay. This is one of those swabs I talked about earlier where you mentioned there was a positive presumptive test for blood.
Yes.
You have 3 contributors to this mixture. Can you tell whose potential blood that is?
No, I cannot say the source of any individual's in DNA in a mixture or any source of DNA in a sample type.
So for example, in this mixture in FDLE item 11, that swab from the driver's side rear door, you included Nilexia Alexander as a potential contributor to that overall mixture.
I did.
But you cannot tell us that Ms. Alexander's blood is found on that mixture.
Correct. I cannot say that.
And that 3rd individual that is included in the mixture, because we talked about Ms. Alexander, you then make the assumption of Mr. Walker. Did you have enough information to compare that 3rd individual to the other known standard from Mr. Creed?
Yes, I did compare Robert Creed to the mixture.
Okay. And he was excluded?
I believe so, but
Sure.
I just want to double check.
Absolutely.
It was actually no determination for that item.
Okay, I'm sorry. So no determination. So does that mean you cannot include or exclude Mr. Creed?
Correct.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get that wrong on you. Let me turn now then to the black jacket. And I believe that was FDLE item number 10.
Correct.
Okay. And in this particular mixture, did you make any assumptions with regard to Mr. Walker?
I did not.
Okay. But he is included as a potential contributor to that mixture in item number 10, the black jacket.
Yes.
Along with that profile, you observed 2 other profiles.
Yes, 2 other individuals are present in that mixture.
And remind me again, did you compare that mixture to Robert Creed?
I did.
And what were your results with regard to Mr. Creed?
He is excluded as a contributor to the mixed DNA profile.
You also compared those other 2 DNA profiles to the known standard for Nilexia Alexander.
I did compare Nilexia Alexander to the mixed DNA profile.
And she also is excluded as a contributor to any of the DNA on that jacket.
Correct.
Can I have a moment, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Did I miss, did you also indicate whether or not you did any presumptive blood testing on the jacket?
I did, and it was negative for the chemical indications of blood.
So no indication of potential blood on that jacket.
Correct.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you, ma'am.
You ready? Please be excused.
From the defense.
Yes, Judge. She may be excused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess this is the one good thing. We get to skip all of this, right? Because we have TiVo time. So I'm going to go ahead and get us after lunch so we can resume the testimony. And we right back in there. So you have to drop your comments and let me know what you think so far in regards to the testimony that we done heard from the morning session. We are taking it, we're going right back up into the courtroom and we're after lunch and we have our next witness about to approach and take the stand.
Jury's back. Y'all may be seated. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again. I assume you all were able to follow the court's instructions. No issues. We didn't speak to anyone. No one talked to you about the case, no media coverage. You didn't do any research on your own, things like that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Steve, may I call your next witness?
State or call Robert Quincy Creed.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Counselor, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Creed. If you could make sure your microphone's close enough so that you can be heard when you speak. All right. Good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sir, if you can please tell the jury your name.
Robert Quincy Creed Jr.
All right. And where are you currently living?
in the Falkenberg Rural County Jail,
All right. And how long have you been in the Falkenberg Road County Jail?
like 36 months, I think.
36 months. Okay. And what were you charged with that you're in the jail for now?
Accessory after the fact.
All right. And did you in fact plead guilty to that charge?
Yes, sir.
All right. And is that charge related to this charge, to this case that we're talking about here today?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you been sentenced on that yet?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Creed, what was how far did you go in school?
Like 8th grade, sir.
All right. Can you read and write?
Not that good.
Not that good? All right. Now, do you know the defendant in this case, Ronny Walker?
Yes, sir.
How do you know him?
From childhood.
So you all kind of grew up together?
Yes, sir.
Did you all grow up in the same neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
What neighborhood was that?
Tampa Heights Estate, Tampa Heights.
Okay. And would you say you were friends growing up?
Yes, sir.
How often did you see each other?
Like every day.
Every day. And did that continue as you grew older?
Yes, sir.
So, guys, just a heads up. Remember, this is the guy that was when they pulled up to the hospital to pick up his girlfriend's friend. This is the guy that was in the front seat that went to the back seat that was also in the car. Okay.
All right. And back in May of 2022, were you all still friends at that time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, talking about May of 2022, I want to go back to that day, or the day this occurred, back on May the 5th or May the 6th of 2022. Do you remember that day?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember this incident that we're about to talk about?
Yes, sir.
All right. Where were you living back then at that time?
I was like back and forth St. Pete with the girl I was staying with.
Okay, so you had a girlfriend back then,
Yes, sir.
and she lived in St. Pete,
Yes, sir.
and you would stay there sometimes?
Yes, sir.
And where would you stay when you were staying in Tampa?
At my brother's house.
And where did your brother live?
He lived in Jackson Heights Apartments.
All right. Now, on this particular night of May the 5th, the night before going into that morning, were you at your brother's apartment that day?
Yes, sir.
What were you doing there?
Sleep on the couch.
All right. What time was this? Do you remember?
No, sir.
And you were asleep on the couch there?
Yes, sir.
And did there come a time when you saw Ronny Walker?
Yes, sir.
When was that?
I guess the same day when I was sleep on the couch.
Okay. And what happened when you saw him?
When I woke up and seen him, I was all blue because he was standing over me.
Okay. And what did he say?
He told me like, let's ride.
Okay.
Like he got some girl he wanted to put me down with. So I was feeling sick. So
I'm sorry, say the last
I
part.
was kind of feeling sick, but I still jumped in the car with him and his girl and her friend.
Okay. So let's go to that. So you're at your brother's apartment, and then Ronny.
Can you say
Walker, wake up,
thirsty?
He's there, and he says, "Come with me." And he's trying to hook you up with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said he was feeling sick, but he was about to get hooked up with a girl, so he jumped in the car anyways. Can you say thirsty?
And so you go get in the car, and who else in the car?
His girl.
A girl. His girl.
His girl.
Erica. What's her name?
Yeah.
Erica. Had you met her before?
Yes, sir.
All right. And who else was in the car? Is there anyone else?
I think her name is Jerica, I think.
Jerica?
Yeah.
Okay. And who was driving the car?
Ronny.
Was it that black car?
Yes, sir.
All right. And where did you guys go?
We rolled around for a little bit.
Okay.
And
then what
then we went back to his girlfriend's house.
So you went to the house of Erica Sweet's house.
Yes.
All right. And what happened when you got back to Erica Sweet's house?
Just chilled out for a little bit. Then I fell asleep on the couch.
You fell asleep on the couch at Erica Sweet's house.
Yes, sir.
All right. What happened with the other girl? Do you know?
Not really.
All right. And after you fell asleep on the couch, did there come a time when you got woken up?
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Ronny had now woke me up, told me to ride with him somewhere. Just told me to ride with him.
All right. Did you know where you were going to go?
No, sir.
So, but you weren't feeling well?
No, I wasn't feeling well.
But you still went along with him?
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Because he had told me his girl to let me stay, pay her $300, $400 to live there. Because I ain't really want to live at my brother's house because it's distant.
Okay.
So, I guess.
Kind of felt obligated, I
Yeah.
guess. All right. Did you, when he woke you up and asked you to go for a ride with him, was Erica anywhere there?
I guess I ain't see her, but I guess she had to be in a room or something.
Okay. But you didn't see her. She wasn't awake, or at least around where you were.
No.
Okay. So it's just you and Ronny Walker.
Yeah.
All right. What happened next?
He got in his car and he had rode around a little bit.
And what were you all doing as you were riding around? Was he doing anything, saying anything?
No.
All right. And what happened next?
He rode up on a group of people and asked him where she went at.
So he rode up on a group of people and asked him where she went. Did you know who he was referring to?
No, sir.
All right. And what happened then?
Then he rode around.
All right.
He rode around a couple more corners. Then he went in his parking lot.
Okay.
Then he picked up this girl.
All right. So rode around for a couple more corners, and then you said he rode into a parking lot and picked up a girl. Did you know this girl?
No, sir.
Where were you sitting in the car?
I was in the passenger side.
In the front?
Yes, sir.
And Ronny was driving?
Yes, sir.
Did you have a driver's license at that time?
No, sir.
All right. And so you pull up and this girl gets in the car. You did not know who she was?
No, sir.
All right. And how does he get her in the car? What happens? What does he do?
He just rolled down the window and said, "Hey."
That's it? A?
Yes, sir.
And then what happened?
She turned around and looked and just walked and jumped in the bike seat of the driver's side.
Did it appear like she knew him or something?
Yes, sir.
All right. And when she goes and she gets in the, what part of the car does she get in?
She get in the driver's bike seat.
The driver's back seat. Okay. And what happened then?
Then he rode to a store.
Okay. So he left that apartment or that parking lot and he rode to a store. She was in the back seat.
Yes, sir.
Were they saying anything to each other?
Not really, not that I can remember.
Okay. What happens when they get to the store?
He get out, he go in the store and buy them something to drink.
Okay. He didn't buy you anything to drink?
No, sir.
And so he goes in the store. Did he go by himself?
Yeah.
And you stayed in the car with the girl?
Yes, sir.
All right. What happened then?
I was trying to call my cousin, but my phone went dead.
Your phone was dead?
Yeah, if my phone had went dead.
Okay. So what happened then?
I had asked her could she call my cousin for me on her phone.
All right.
So I had gave her the number. She called, but my cousin didn't answer, pick up.
Okay.
So then I asked her to text, could she text him, tell him it's me. So she texted him. Then she called back again. He still didn't pick up. So that was it.
Okay. So I'm assuming Ronny Walker comes back into the car
Yes, sir.
and gets back in the driver's seat.
Yes, sir.
What happens then?
He gave her something to drink, whatever he bought, and then he pulled off.
And then pulled off. And where did you go from there? Do you know?
He went to some dark street.
All right. Are you familiar with that area?
I think it's Tampa Heights.
Okay. Had you been on that street that he pulled into?
No,
All right. And you said you called it dark. There wasn't a lot of light out there.
no, sir.
All right. So after he pulls into that street, what happens?
Yeah, I asked her a question.
What did he ask her?
Was she having sex?
Was she having sex? Is that what he said?
Yes, sir.
What happened at that point?
She told him no.
And then what happened?
He got mad and went to screaming and yelling, talking about get out of his car, get out my car, get out my car.
Okay. And you were still sitting on the passenger seat?
Yes, sir.
Were you paying attention to all of that?
No, not really.
So what happened after saying get out of the car? Were you just did you watching what was going on or what were you
No,
doing?
I was like kind of like slumped over because I wasn't feeling good.
Okay. You were slumped over because you weren't feeling good. So you
Yeah,
weren't
like,
really looking.
Not slumped, just like leaning to the side.
Okay. And what happened?
I heard a gunshot.
Okay. And what happened when you heard that gunshot?
I jumped. When I jumped, I looked. I seen her I looked in the bike seat. I seen her holding like a chest, like.
It's just like this, kind of with both hands where the record reflects you said he's putting both hands over his
Yes,
chest.
sir.
Okay. And then what happened?
He kept telling her to get out my car, so she got out the driver's side, the bike seat driver's side.
She got out on her own?
Yes, sir.
Did you see the gun in Ronnie's
Yes,
hand
sir.
at that point?
Yes, sir.
What type of gun was it?
It was like a chrome 9mm or something.
So it's chrome or silver or
Yeah.
some bright, kind of
Yes,
bright?
sir.
After she gets out of the car, what happens?
He get out.
He got out too?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever get out?
No, sir.
After you get out, what happens?
I heard 2 more gunshots.
Just two?
Yes, sir.
And did you see her get shot?
No, I didn't physically see it, but I know he did it.
Because you could hear the gunshots?
Yes, sir.
Had she left her door open?
Probably so.
Okay.
No.
And so you hear those 2 gunshots. You don't see the shooting,
No.
but you hear them.
Yes, sir.
And then what happens?
He jumped back in the car and pulled off.
Okay. When he jumped back in the car, did he say anything to you?
He telling me, don't say nothing. Don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody. But he'll gonna kill me too.
And he told you that.
Yes, sir.
So he was threatening you at that point?
Yes, sir.
Were you scared?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what happened at that point?
He went back to he went to a gas station.
So y'all drove around and went to a gas station?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what the gas station was or anything?
I don't remember.
All right. I'll show you what's marked as states E1. Do you see that person?
Yes, sir.
Who is that?
That's Ronny.
Was that what he was wearing that night?
Yes, sir.
That jacket
Yes, sir.
and the shoes?
Yes, sir.
Is that the gas station that you all went to?
Yes, sir.
In E4, is that him?
Yes, sir.
Is that same night?
Yes, sir.
Was this soon after you all, or soon after he had shot Nilexia Alexander?
Yes, sir.
And is that you?
Yes, sir.
Same gas station?
Yes, sir.
Same night?
Yes, sir.
Did and you got out of the passenger side?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you run at that point?
I was scared.
What happened at that point?
We went by to his girlfriend's house.
At Erica Sweet's house?
Yes, sir.
And what happened when you got back there?
I was sitting on the couch. He kept walking back and forth to the window, pacing, looking out the window,
What, is he saying anything?
saying, "Don't tell nobody what he did."
Okay. And you were just sitting there, and this was in Erica Sweet's house?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you see Erica at that point?
No, sir.
The next day, you're seeing, or I believe it's you, the next day, did you go to the Tampa General Hospital?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? If there's video showing you getting out of the passenger car the next day at the Tampa General Hospital, would you doubt that?
No, sir.
All right. Do you remember riding at some point with
Yes, sir.
Ronny Walker to Tampa General Hospital?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember why you were going there?
To pick his girlfriend up.
Okay. All right. When did you finally leave Ronny Walker? When did you finally separate?
When my girl finally answered the phone and came and got me from my brother's house.
Your girl answered the phone from your brother's house?
No, from my cell phone.
Oh, okay. And so who came and got you?
My girl.
Your girl came and got you?
Yes,
And
sir.
were you still at Erica Sweet's house at that time?
No, I had on left.
Where did you go?
I went back to my brother's house.
To your brother's house?
Yeah.
All right. And when your girlfriend came and got you, you go back to St. Pete?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell anyone what happened?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because I was scared.
Did there come a time when you talked to police?
Yes, sir.
When was that? Do
When
you remember?
I had got a phone call from my cousin, and he said the police were looking for me.
All right. Were you still in St. Petersburg when that happened?
No, I was at my brother's house in the Jackson Heights Apartments.
Okay, you were at Jackson Heights apartment. Okay. And so you get notification that the police are looking for you. What do?
I called my nephew, and he came to pick me up and took me on to the police precinct.
Okay. And did you go there and meet with detectives?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell them the very first time that you met with them that you know what happened, knew what happened?
No, sir.
All right. But you went down there voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you tell them when you first saw them what happened?
I was scared.
Okay, you were scared?
Yes, sir.
Did you talk to them again at a later time?
Yes, sir.
And on that second time that you talked to them, did you in fact at that time let them know that you did know about the case and that you did know Ronny Walker killed her?
Yes, sir.
Had Ronny Walker already been arrested by that time?
I think so. Yes, sir.
After this happened, did you talk to Ronny Walker anytime about this case, about what happened?
When I was in jail, he used to write me little notes.
Okay. What did the notes say?
Said the police violated my rights and don't tell what he did that night. He facing the death penalty.
And he would send you these notes in jail?
Yes, sir.
All right. Other than that, you have not communicated with him one-on-one, have you?
No, sir.
All right. Has he made any threats to you since then, other than those notes?
No, sir. Besides, like the last time I seen him in court, he would threaten me.
What did he say to you?
Well, he would like go home and die.
Go home and die?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Creed, there are some phone.
So wait a minute. He's saying that this guy, Ronny, wrote him a letter. I wonder if they're going to produce the letter in his testimony. Did he save this letter? Is it going to be evidence that's going to be submitted about this letter? Or is it just him saying that he received the letter? Interesting. And then the threats in regards to, just go home and die while they're in court. I really want to see if the prosecution is going to submit this letter, but let's continue.
Calls that appeared to take place within a short period of time between your phone and that of Nilexia Alexander. Did you make those calls?
No, sir.
Did you know Nilexia Alexander?
No, sir.
Do you have any idea how those phone numbers or phone calls might have taken place?
I heard through a friend that.
Did you ever lend your phone out?
Yes, sir.
Did you sometimes lend your phone out to a friend who had a young girl who knew Nilexia?
Yes, sir.
Did Ronny Walker borrow your phone sometimes?
Yes, sir.
Did you often just kind of let anyone use your phone, whoever needed to use your phone?
Yes, sir.
Right.
I don't know about y'all, but who is letting somebody borrow their phone all the time? We are adults. Like, who is letting people borrow their phone all the time? I mean, if you're letting people borrow your phone all the time, please just let me know, because I think that every adult should have a phone. And it appears that Ronny had a phone, so why would he need to be borrowing his phone? But drop your comments in the chat and let me know. Are we letting people borrow our phones at this point in time? Grown adults at that?
And when you got in the car that night, did you know what Ronny Walker was planning to do?
No, sir.
Did you know that street that he turned down?
No, sir.
Did you know he had a gun with him?
No, sir.
Mr. Creed, did you?
Sorry, guys, I just got to stop here. No, he don't know nothing that Ronny Walker was about to do. Like, you just get in the car with a guy, you don't know he got a gun, you don't know what street turn it down, you don't know what he about to do. You were sick when you got in the car, just so you can get a place to stay with this girl for cheap rent because you didn't want to stay with your brother. Like, I'm seeing inconsistencies in his testimony already in regards to the details from the night, but we shall continue.
Kill Nilexia Alexander?
No, sir.
Did Ronny Walker kill Nilexia Alexander?
Yes, sir.
Judgment, if I may have a moment. few more questions before I sit down. Do you know an individual by the name of Day Day?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, who is that?
His name David White.
David White. Okay. Do you know a Stanley Wilson?
No, sir.
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Yes, sir.
How many times?
21 times.
Did you drive at all that night?
No, sir.
Have you ever driven Ronny Walker's car?
No, sir.
You were afraid of him. Why are you telling the truth now? If you lied back then, why are you telling the truth now?
Because I didn't do anything.
And that cousin you asked Nilexia to call, who was that?
My cousin,
What's
my
his,
first cousin,
what's his name?
Robert Parker.
Robert Parker. Okay. Had that weapon, do you know whatever happened to that weapon?
No, sir.
Did you ever see Ronny Walker get rid of that weapon?
No, sir.
Did you ever get rid of that weapon?
No, sir.
And again, you were at that Thornton's and you didn't run. Why is that?
I was scared.
All right. You knew Ronny Walker, knew where you lived, and knows your friends and family, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did Ronny Walker know you had a girlfriend in St. Petersburg?
Yes, sir.
So Ronny Walker knew a lot about your life and where you lived and where you went, right?
Yes, sir.
One moment, Judge.
Yes, sir.
And real quick, Day Day, the man you've just talked about, was he ever in the car with you all that night?
No, sir.
In fact, was anyone else in the car with you all that night other than you, Ronny Walker, and Nilexia Alexander?
No, sir.
Nobody else was.
Nobody else.
Okay. Did you all stop anywhere else along the way before Thornton's, before you went to that gas station?
This stone 22nd and Martin Luther King where he bought them something to drink.
Right, where you bought the drinks. But after,
No, sir.
okay, you all just drove around and went straight to Thornton's. Did you all ever go back to the house and then go out to Thornton's?
No, sir.
You continued to drive the whole time?
He went from where he did that murder to that gas station, from that gas station back to his girlfriend's house.
And you didn't stop anywhere else along the way?
No, sir.
All right, and you never saw him get rid of the gun?
No, sir.
And you never saw him, and you never saw him get rid of the gun, and did you ever see him get rid of anything else?
No, sir.
I'm going to ask you again, Mr. Creed, did you have anything to do with Nilexia Alexander being killed?
No, sir.
And it's your testimony today. You saw Ronny Walker shoot Nilexia Alexander. Is that your testimony today? You saw him shoot her.
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Creed, good afternoon. Oh, sorry, Judge. Good afternoon. You told Mr. Terry you've been convicted of 21 felonies, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
And amongst those felonies is the charge of accessory after.
Sustained.
Judge, can we approach? Mr. Creed, let me take it from the top. You've been convicted of 21 felonies, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You've pled guilty to accessory after the fact.
Yes, ma'am.
You are facing up to 30 years on that charge of accessory after the fact, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You've never been charged with murder in this case, right?
Yes, that's right.
The only charge you've ever been charged with is accessory after the fact.
Yes, ma'am.
You pled guilty to that accessory after the fact, but you have not been sentenced yet, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In fact, you are waiting to be sentenced to see how things go or until you complete your testimony in the case against Mr. Walker, correct?
I guess so, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't know what your sentence is going to be. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
But certainly you're hoping you're going to get to go home when this is all done and over with.
Yes, ma'am.
As in, you don't go to prison, you don't do any more time, you go home.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk to you about some of the benefits that you've received in your cases as a result of being a witness here. Prior to pleading guilty and agreeing to testify against Mr. Walker, you had a bond in your case. Isn't that correct?
Ma'am?
You had a bond that you had to pay to get out of jail.
Yes, ma'am.
You were unable to afford to pay that bond, correct?
Correct.
After you pled guilty and you agreed with the state of Florida that you would give your testimony, you were released without having to pay a bond, correct?
I'm still in jail, ma'am.
Correct. And I'm going to get there, but you don't have to pay a bond to get out, correct?
I thought they say I got to pay like a private ankle monitor.
And I'm going to get there. I'm just talking about the bond right now. You would not have to pay any money for a bond to get out of jail right now, correct?
Correct.
The thing that's holding you in jail is that you would have to wear an ankle monitor when you get out of jail, correct?
Correct.
And you don't have an address where you can go to stay at in order to wear that ankle monitor, correct?
Correct.
And that is the thing that is holding you in jail, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So one of the benefits that you've received is after agreeing to testify, the prosecution agreed to erase that bond for you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Another benefit you received is that you also had a case of battery, second or subsequent, a felony, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Approach.
All right, I want to go through some of the details of what you've testified about here today. So I believe you said the early morning hours of May 6th, you wake up to Mr. Walker standing over you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't know how he got there. You don't know when he got there. He's just standing over you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he tells you he wants to basically set you up with someone, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the person that he wants to set you up with, according to your story, is not Nilexia Alexander, the girl who died.
No, ma'am.
This is a friend of Erica Walker, his
Yeah.
girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you then get in the car with Mr. Walker. You say Erica Sweet is there and this other girl is there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then I think your testimony was next thing that happens, you go back to Erica Sweet's apartment and you fall asleep.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your testimony today is that Mr. Walker then again wakes you up and tells you to get in the car with him to go for a ride.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're sick, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a stomach bug of some sort?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you like actively throwing up this entire time?
Not at that time, but I was sick.
Okay. And even though you're sick, you get into the car and you're just driving around with Mr. Walker. That's what your testimony is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You then say that at some point, Mr. Walker pulls up to a group of people and just says, "Where's she at?" Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And from your account, these people automatically know who he's talking about.
I don't know.
Okay.
I just know he iced him that.
Okay. He then pulls into a parking lot, and that is where he comes across Miss Alexander, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And your testimony today is that Miss Alexander is someone that you've never seen before, correct?
Correct.
Never met her before, right?
That's right.
You had no idea who she was?
No, ma'am.
She then gets into the car, and no one is saying anything, right?
Right.
No one's talking, correct?
Correct.
No one's talking about where they're going or what they're doing, right?
No, ma'am.
Y'all are just driving?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And that's when you said Mr. Walker pulls up to a store. He gets out to get a couple of drinks, right?
That's right.
Okay. And your testimony is that your phone was not working at this time, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so did I hear you correctly in saying that you asked Miss Alexander, the young girl that was shot and killed, you asked her to send a text message to your cousin?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you asked her to send or to make some phone calls to your cousin?
Yes, ma'am.
And your testimony is that she's doing all of that from her phone?
Yes, ma'am.
You then go, Mr. Walker gets back in the car, you go to this dead end street, and that's where the shooting happens, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Was it your testimony that you never actually saw the shots happen?
Yes, ma'am.
You just heard them happen?
Yes, ma'am.
You never saw Ronny Walker shoot Miss Alexander?
No, ma'am.
And so you're in that dead end, right? You're in the front passenger seat.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Walker, you're saying is in that driver's seat, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Alexander is seated behind him on the rear driver's side of the car, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When Mr. Walker shoots Miss Alexander, which hand is he holding the gun in?
I think it was his left hand.
Okay. And where was Mr. Walker when the first shot, when you heard that first shot, where's Mr. Walker?
In the driver's seat.
Okay, so he's still seated in that driver's seat, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Alexander, she's seated in the back.
Yes, ma'am.
The windows in the car are all rolled up, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so it's your testimony that Mr. Walker, with his left hand, takes a gun. Let me kind of demonstrate for you. Turns around and shoots Nilexia Alexander while she is sitting in the back seat of the car. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the windows are up, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You see Miss Alexander hold her chest.
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
And then Miss Alexander, after being shot in that back seat of the car, opens the car door, grabs her phone charger and her drink, and gets out of the car on her own volition, correct? By herself.
I know she got out the car.
She got out of the car. Mr. Walker doesn't help her get out of the car. She gets out on her own.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then is it your testimony then that Mr. Walker gets out of the car after that? And that's where you hear additional shots.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I get any of those details wrong?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Your testimony is that while you're in that dead end area of the car, you
Can you guys see, like, this is the setup coming up that she's doing. The defense is setting him up. That's why she asked him, did she have any of those details wrong? Let's listen. It's coming. Boy, oh boy.
You never get out of the car, correct?
Correct.
You hear one shot inside the car, and then you hear, was it 2 more shots when you get out, or when you say Mr. Walker gets out?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So just keep in mind that he's testifying that Ronnie shot the girl from the driver's side. She was in the back seat. She started holding her chest, and it appears that she may have grabbed her drink, her cell phone, and probably even her charger, and got out the car. And that's when Ronnie shot her additional 2 times. Interesting. Well, let's see.
And your testimony today is that after Mr. Walker gets back into the car, he makes some sort of a threat to you, like, don't tell anyone or I'm going to kill you too, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your testimony is that that is the reason why you then remain in the car with Mr. Walker throughout that morning, the rest of the morning of May 6th and into the following day of May 6th, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point at the end of May, you started hearing about the shooting of Miss Alexander, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You heard about it from your cousin, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your cousin's name, again, that's Robert Parker?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your brother who you were living with, his name is Arthur, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you also start to see at some point things in the news about the shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
When you hear from your cousin that the police had been by to talk to him, that's when you go to talk to the police, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to try and get a timeline as much as we can. This is sometime at the end of May. Does that sound about right?
I really don't remember.
Okay. Let me see if you remember this. The first time you go to talk to the police, Mr. Walker, he had not been arrested yet?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
You don't think? Okay. He had not been yet arrested. And did I hear you correctly when Mr. Terry asked you if you told the police that you knew about the murder the first time you spoke to them? Your answer to him was no, you did not tell him that, correct?
Ma'am.
Your answer to Mr. Terry was that you were not honest with the police. You did not tell them about what you knew about, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Creed, do you recall giving a deposition in this case on May 5th, 2025, so just a couple of weeks ago at the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember I was there and I asked you some questions?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Terry was there and your lawyer was there as well,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay. And for counsel, I'm referring to page 24 of that deposition, starting at line 4, going through line 12. And this may be a little long-winded, but let me ask you this question. Do you recall being asked at the time, you went down to the police station, they asked you some questions, and you didn't tell them anything about what happened. Is that true? You responded, yeah, I told them. Question, you told them what? Answer, I told them, basically I said, everything y'all know, I know. Do your job. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But the truth is, actually, you didn't say that, right?
Ma'am.
You didn't tell the police that during that first interview, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You did tell them that?
Yeah, when I went down there and seen them myself, went to the police station myself.
You went to the police station, and is it your testimony now that you told them, hey, I know everything that you know, go do your job? Is that what you told them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now your testimony is a little bit different from what you said to Mr. Terry, so I want to be clear. Mr. Terry asked them if you told the police the truth, and you told him, no, you didn't tell them the truth, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I didn't.
Okay. But now you're saying, after I've asked you to recall your deposition that you gave, you're saying that you did tell the police that you knew about the murder. Is that your testimony now?
When I went to the police myself
The first time.
and they asked me, I told them, y'all know everything that I know. Do your job.
So you told the police that they know everything that you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in fact, you claim that you told them that repeatedly, that they knew everything that you knew, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
In reality, though, you never walked them through those details that you gave us here today, correct?
Correct.
That didn't come until the second interview that you had with them sometime in July. Am I right about that?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that second time, that second interview, Mr. Walker, he had already been arrested, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The second time that you were interviewed by law enforcement, at that point, you didn't go to them voluntarily. You were arrested, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were arrested in Pinellas County?
Yes, ma'am.
And this was in July after Mr. Walker had already been arrested, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me ask you this question real quick. Were you arrested in Pinellas County at any time before that, in May or in June?
If I no, ma'am.
No, right? The only time you were ever arrested in Pinellas County would have been in July after Mr. Walker was arrested, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. This interview that you gave to the police during that time, that went a little bit differently, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. During that interview in Pinellas County, the Detective Whelan, the male detective, he started off by telling you that they had authorization to charge you for what they had previously talked to you about. Do you remember him saying that?
Not really, but I know they just talked the lady. He talked to some lady on the phone and he told me I'm about to sit down.
Okay. So do you remember him telling you that they were going to charge you with some things? That's how the interview started.
No, ma'am. He just told me I'm gonna have to sit down for a little minute.
Okay. Do you remember the detective saying to you 19 seconds into that second interview in July, we got authorization of charges for you in reference to that? You don't remember the detective saying that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Shortly after that, do you remember the detective then telling you that Ronny Walker's lawyers were blaming you for the shooting of Miss Alexander?
Yes, ma'am.
And the detective went on to tell you that he had to get up on a witness stand and try to explain why he believed Ronny Walker was the shooter and not you. Do you remember him saying that?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember that? Do you remember the detective saying to you they needed to get answers? Do you remember him telling you that?
I think so, ma'am. I think so.
Okay. When he says that to you, your response to him was, all I know is what they put on TV. Isn't that what you told him to start off?
I probably did say that.
The detective then asked you to walk him through the night of May 6th and tell him, when did you get into the car with Ronny Walker? Do you remember him starting off the questioning about that?
I really don't even remember.
Okay. Well, let me ask you if you remember this. Do you remember telling the detective you had to have gotten into the car after the shooting because you don't know anything about a murder. You remember telling him that?
No, ma'am.
You don't remember that. If you listened to the recording or if you saw a transcript from the recording, would that help refresh your memory on any of these things?
Probably so, ma'am.
Okay. Judge, can we approach?
Here we go. Refreshing his memory, right? She done found some inconsistencies. I kind of figured it sounded like that was going to happen.
Provide it, Judge.
Let's see if we can catch some of them.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Creed, why don't you go ahead and see if you can read through this?
I can't read.
You can't read.
No,
So
sir.
you gotta hear on the video.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear it from there? Or you need,
I'll bring the computer closer to him so he can hear it.
state, if you need to get closer, you can use position. Anyone else?
Remember us? We got authorization of the charges for you in reference to that. But before we start, I wanted to preface it with this, with last week, and I don't know if you saw the papers, Ronny Walker's lawyer in court is basically accusing you of being the shooter. Okay? I had to stand on the stand and answer questions where they asked, did Quincy be the shooter in this case? She's asking that flat out in court. And she's blaming you for it. Okay? Ronny's lawyer. So there's been a lot of meetings in this with the state attorney's office, with our chiefs.
I said he
You're
could have
all
been
involved,
prepped
okay?
beforehand. Someone could have played
It's
it
very
for him.
important right now, so we can take this back to the state attorneys and stuff,
Yeah,
that you need to be honest
that's
about
what
it.
I'm asking about. I'm
Alright,
asking,
if you're not the shooter,
by the way, I'm asking
it's time to
quotes
come out and be
directly
yourself,
from
okay?
recorded.
Because everything
And
else,
he's
man,
saying he doesn't
is,
remember?
you're tied up in this, the charges are signed, they're done.
No.
To kind of save yourself, you have to be truthful, okay? And that's all it is. You know, I know we met the first time. A lot of stuff has come back since then. You just gotta be truthful, okay, dude?
No, I can't be no shit. I can't tell you. I can't die. I don't need dogs and that. The only thing I indulge in is driving with suspended license.
Okay.
That's it. I don't hold that other stuff. I don't do nothing.
But, and I can tell you my heart of hearts, because obviously we looked at everybody's record involved in this. Ron's got a fucking violent history. Right? And there's so much stuff that you don't know about that gun and stuff that's involved in this that we have some more in.
Just let me ask the court and counsel this to see if it could help expedite things. If I jumped this specific.
Oh gosh, I hope she gonna start using the mic
Would that be okay?
because we can't hear her. It's bad enough they playing a recording to him in regards to when he was in interrogation, but we can't hear the questions now. I want her to move.
I remember this, sir. I remember.
Hopefully she moves soon.
Do you need to hear the rest of it?
No, ma'am.
No, okay, all right. He's ready to go then.
And it does come up again if you know the specific part.
I have timestamps and everything, Judge.
How do you find 16 people?
Judge, let's just play that in an abundance of caution so there's not a situation where he doesn't remember.
Whatever you decide.
All right, let me
Ask
bring,
this question.
yes.
How many specific things that you want to ask me?
Let me see where I left off. Let's see.
And then maybe we can just go to those portions.
Sure. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, about 14 different spots, 15 different spots in the interview, Judge. But I have the timestamps. I can jump right to them. Okay. I'm going to take my notes up here, Mr. Creed, just so that way we don't have to do this again. I know this was a couple of years ago. All right, so let's start here.
Intelligence on that, all that other stuff, I don't do none of that. But, and I can tell you my heart of hearts, because obviously we looked at every record involved in this. Ronnie's got a fucking violent history. All right, and there's some other stuff that you don't know about that gun and stuff that was involved in this, that we'd have some more intelligence on that.
Just for the record, I'm trying to adjust the volume. I don't think that we're going to be able to hear the actual recording of where she's trying to correct his inconsistencies. And the jury, I don't believe is in the room at this point in time also. So just bear with me. Sorry, we can't hear the recording. Yes, I would love to hear it so we can pick it out, but I'm assuming she will ask questions in regards to what he does not recall or what he's now stating different from his interview.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit.
What I believe happened, what's that?
All I know is what I see on TV and how they charge them, how they put my name in it. I know I ain't on nothing like that on the doors and stuff like that. Only thing I do is drive a suspended license and that's it.
But that night you're in that car, the night of the murder. When did you get in the car?
It had to be after that. That's it. Because I don't know.
All right. So here's, and I'll tell you what I believe. Okay. And if that's the truth, then let's go down that road. Okay.
The minute I heard of it, I come to y'all.
Right.
That's just like if I was guilty, I'd be running.
Right.
Ducking the dogs in your hide. No way.
Oh, so but here's the thing. We know where that car goes right after the murder. Okay. And we know that you get out of the car right after the murder. So when do you get in the car? The car backs in. There's some. So, but here's the thing. First, do that. Robles in and out of Robles are unlimited. Okay. We pull the cameras from your apartment complex and have you guys hang out from your brother's house prior to the murder. Or in Jackson Heights, whoever technically lives there, but Arthur lives at that house as well, where you kept your clothes. Okay. So we pulled the video from there, so we know you're hanging out with them early in the night before this murder. The car backs in. There's a girl in the car. Car backs in. You guys get out of the car, hang out there for a little bit. Okay. What I'm telling you, this is what I'm telling you. This is the difference. Okay. If you didn't pull the trigger, if you're just in that car when it happens, and you're oh shit, this wasn't supposed to happen. This wasn't supposed to go down like that. He's high as fuck. He's fucked up, and you pull that trigger, and you're fucking there.
Man, that would happen. I'm not no child killer. I wouldn't do that.
I know you're not, man. No, you're not, man.
That just ain't me.
I know it's not you, but you gotta be truthful about that, okay? You gotta say that's what happened, okay? You have to say
that's what happened.
If you were there, this is your time to tell us what happened, okay? Because they're gonna point fingers at you. So if you were there and you saw something, this is your time to tell us. Because unless you pull that trigger,
everything y'all saying, that's what happened.
You tell us.
But you gotta say, okay, dude. That's the hard part. Is you have to, for me to go to call the state attorney and say, hey, Quincy's saying that he was in that car. Ronnie fucking timed that shit. He pulled that girl out of the car and he shot her. You have to say that, dude.
That's what happened.
Okay. Then walk us through the night. Then you gotta be.
Start with Jackson Heights. As much as you can remember, you're at Jackson Heights. You're hanging out. What happened after that?
I didn't do it. He did it. I didn't do it.
Well, just tell us like you would a story. So if you're in Jackson Heights, you guys leave Jackson Heights. Do you remember where you go after Jackson Heights?
We just went to a store.
Went to the store? Yeah, just tell us like a story. store. So you leave Jackson Heights, you go to the store.
Ronny killed that little girl. I wouldn't do nothing like that. Just how he said it, that's how it was.
But I can't put words in your mouth. What they're gonna say is when this the attorney, this defense attorney sees that, and finds this out, okay? Because they're 100 hand to God, and it's on in the newspaper. They are blaming you for it. His defense attorney is standing up in court saying, "Could Quincy have killed her?" Because the evidence is that you both are there. They are 100% pointing the finger at you. All right, dude. We knew that's what was going to happen from step one. That's when we first met. I told you just be truthful. I didn't want to put words in your mouth because we knew that was going to happen, and it's already happening. Day one in court, they are saying you killed the little girl. Buddy, I want to feel in my heart of heart. I think you don't have it in you.
Just looking at you, I can tell that you're upset about it.
It's as simple as this, dude. You just have to, what the evidence points to, just be honest.
Everything you said is the truth.
All right, so let's start this. So you guys are hanging out in Jackson Heights. You said you went to a store. What
That's
store?
why they said some ancestor like him, his girl, and the little girl supposed to have some DNA stuff. I don't know nothing about that.
All right,
And some sick stuff.
Tell us your story, Quincy. That's what we need to know. What's your story?
My story is exactly what he said.
Can you tell us? So you leave Jackson Heights, right? You remember being in Jackson Heights. You guys leave there and you go to the store. Tell us what happened next. Just tell us like a story.
Just as everything he said.
Well, we need you to tell us.
When did the girl get into the car?
And Jackson Heights. Everything, I was like, I was blue. I was scared.
I know you were. Okay, so after you guys were with the girl, where did you go?
He went over by Robert Park somewhere.
Okay.
And that's when that shit happened. I was scared.
What happened?
He killed that little girl.
Where was she sitting in the car?
Bike seat.
Okay, where were you sitting in the car?
Front seat.
Okay, then what happened?
And he pulled off.
Okay, where did he pull over at?
Over there by Robert Park somewhere.
Okay, what did the street look like, really?
Dodge Street.
Okay. Have you been there before?
No shit.
All right. What's the street? Does the street go all the way through? Is the street dead end? And how long she was?
Are you doing okay right now?
It's right by that little girl. But you have that knowledge. We're being honest, and you have nothing else in this case to tell me. Any statement or anything else you think you should have?
I took everything.
Okay. Here's what the plan was. You're being charged with accessory from that first statement you gave us because you knew that the murder happened, and we could prove that you were there and everything like that. And you didn't tell us that. All right. And you're hiding the fact that you were there and you had that knowledge that you just told us today. By not giving us that, you're covering up for one. Okay.
I never did cover up.
But you have that knowledge. You know what I mean? So that's why it's not a full murder charge. Okay. But here's what was going to happen. All right. If you came in here today and you weren't honest and you lied to us, we are going to go to grand jury and we were going to present a murder charge against you to grand jury. And I've already presented, for Ronny. That's why he's indicted. Okay. That was the plan. Was we were charging you for this to give you an opportunity to see what you did. If you were truthful like you are now, there we're going to work with you. Okay. If you lied, we were going to seek an indictment for murder. And that's 100% the truth. I know you feel that. Don't you?
That should be it, Judge.
Now, how much you want to bet that he don't have no attorney in the room? Because this sounds like a conversation that he having with the prosecutors or the detectives without a lawyer, without an attorney. Please, please, please have your attorney, whether you're guilty or not guilty, have your attorney present. Now, I don't know who was all in that room, but it definitely don't sound like anybody as far as an attorney or somebody with some legal knowledge is there advising him during this process.
That's it.
Does that refresh his memory?
Does that refresh your memory?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, you all set?
I'm all set, Judge.
Bring him back in.
Thank you.
See, this counteracts the 5 minutes it took 20. So So we tell them 40, we bring them back in 10.
There we
Really
go.
good.
We're ahead of the game. During that interview, when you were asked, when did you get into the car? Your first response to them was, it had to be after the murder because you didn't know anything about the murder. Do you remember hearing that now?
Yes, ma'am.
And then there's a portion during that interview where Detective Wheeland says to you, well, let me tell you what I believe. Do you remember him saying that?
Yes, ma'am.
And then do you remember him saying to you, if you're in the car with Ronnie and he just shoots and kills her and it wasn't supposed to go that way and you're freaking out, just tell us that. Do you remember hearing that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then after the detective tells you that, your response to him is, that's what happened. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The detective then says to you, you've got to be truthful. You got to say that's what happened. And your response to him was, everything y'all are saying, that's what happened. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I can go on, but let me just maybe briefen this up a bit. The detectives then ask you, give them the story, tell them what happened. And your response to them over and over and over is, everything you all are saying, that's what happened. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
They then give you some more details talking about starting at Jackson Heights, going to the store, and then you say, yeah, we started at Jackson Heights, then we went to the store, then we went to the dead end, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So just in case, if y'all didn't catch it, like it appears that the story that the detectives provided to him is the story that he's incorporating. Like he just, confirmed that whatever details the detectives provided is what happened. Like, just continually to say, hey, whatever you said happened. It happened just like that. Like he's not saying in great detail out of his own mouth what happened. He's just confirming that whatever the detective said happened. And, even with the detective trying to get him to actually say in his own words what happened, like a story, if y'all heard that in the recording, he did not do it. He just kept saying that it happened the way you said it happened. Interesting.
There was a female detective that was sitting in on that interview as well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you remember her name, but Detective Nicole Sackrider. And she says to you, tell us your story, Quincy. And you said everything he said, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you said that, you're talking about the detective Wheeland, the male detective that was there.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me cut to the end. One of the last things that is said to you before that interview ends is that if things hadn't gone the way they went, where you told the detectives what you told them, that they were going to seek a murder charge against you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And ever since then, ever since that interview, it has been your testimony that Ronny Walker is the one responsible for shooting Nilexia Alexander, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Since that time, you have given a couple of different sworn statements, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
One of those sworn statements was a statement directly to State Attorney John Terry, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were sworn to tell the truth during that statement, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Another one of those statements I think we've already talked about was your deposition that occurred a couple of weeks ago at the jail, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And during that deposition, you were also sworn to tell the truth, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Creed, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 30C as in cat. I'll zoom in a little bit. This is a text message, and the contents of the message say, "Cuz, it's me, Q." Q is a nickname that you have, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You go by that name. Your family knows you by that name, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This is a text message that you sent, correct?
I didn't send it,
You
but
didn't send
I asked her, the little girl, to send.
And when you're saying that, you're talking about the young girl that died, Nilexia.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so this is a message that was sent from Nilexia Alexander through her phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to us, Mr. Creed, then, why it is that this message was actually sent from Erica Sweet's phone, 305-910-9779?
I
Can you
don't know.
explain that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Your testimony was that all of the phone calls that were made to your cousin were made from Nilexia Alexander, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And they were made from her phone, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you State's Exhibit 30D as in dog. Hoping you can help explain a couple of things here, Mr. Creed. One, can you explain to us why all of these phone calls to your cousin made on May 6th going into May 7th were made from Erica Sweet's phone? Can you explain that?
So, like,
I'm sorry?
they were from my phone?
These calls were made from Erica Sweet's phone to your cousin. Can you explain how that happened?
No, ma'am.
Can you explain to us, Mr. Creed, if Nilexia Alexander is the one that is making these calls on your behalf, how is it that these phone calls are being made on May 6th, 2022, at times after we know she is dead? Can you explain that?
Was they from my phone or from who phone they were from?
These are phone calls made from Erica Sweet's phone to your cousin. You have an explanation for that?
No, ma'am.
No.
Because I couldn't have did it. So they were from Erica Sweet phone.
Do you have an explanation as to how your cousin's being repeatedly called from Erica Sweet's phone after Nilexia is dead?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute now. Now, if the girl has already is passed away, and he states that when they were in the car that he had Nilexia text his cousin on his behalf because his phone was dead, why is Ronnie's girlfriend's phone making calls out to his cousin? That doesn't make any sense. Like, the phone records, them digital receipts, they don't lie. So somebody needs to explain something on why these calls were being made out, right?
going to go ahead and show you State's Exhibit 30A. And these are phone records from your phone. So we're at the point now where we're talking about your phone. And I'm going to zoom in to that top couple of rows right there. That 813-447-6234 number. That is Nilexia Alexander's phone number. Your explanation for how your phone is in communication with Nilexia Alexander's phone. Give me that explanation.
I told the detective that I found out through the jail that I got a friend, female friend, but that was Alexia's friend. And
So somehow there's a coincidence that a person that you know, and how old are you, Mr. Craig?
I'm 48 right now.
48 years old. Okay. A person that you know also happens to know 14-year-old Nilexia Alexander. And by coincidence, that person got a hold of your phone and contacted Nilexia Alexander multiple times through the end of April of 2022. Is that your explanation?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just go ahead and call your attention to the very last line here. To a phone call made on May 1st, 2022 at 2:51:42 a.m. to Nilexia Alexander. Is it your testimony that somehow this coincidental friend in common that you have with Nilexia Alexander gets a hold of your phone at almost 3 o'clock in the morning and they're communicating? Is that your explanation?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I also heard you say that there were times when Ronny Walker would use your phone, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we talked about the two statements that you gave to law enforcement before or when you get arrested, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you also gave that proffer, that statement to Mr. Terry, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You also gave that deposition to me a couple of weeks ago, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you agree with me that not one single time in any one of those statements have you ever said Ronny Walker would use your phone? You've never said that.
Because y'all never did ask me that.
Okay. And that wasn't information that you thought that the detectives might need to know?
I didn't know, ma'am.
That wasn't information that you thought Mr. Terry would need to know?
I never did got ice, so it wasn't.
You didn't think that was information that you should give him?
At the time, I didn't know, ma'am.
And that wasn't information that you thought was important to bring up in your deposition with me, correct? That wasn't any information that you thought was important to bring up to me, correct?
You didn't never ask me, ma'am. I didn't know to tell you that.
I got it. So for the first time that you ever said that Ronny Walker used your phone, first time you've ever said that to anybody here, was today when Mr. Terry went to go talk to you privately right before your testimony. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. How are they talking to him before his testimony? Interesting.
All right, Mr. Creed, I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you.
Read it.
Let's see how he gonna fix this witness because he need to rehabilitate him immediately right now before this all falls apart. Because remember, he's like he's a witness. He was there. He's providing his testimony, like live in action. You know, he actually says that he was there when the murder happened. And this is very crucial because he needs to be rehabilitated from what the defense has just recently done to him.
Mr. Creed, when I spoke with you a little while ago, I asked you, did anyone else use your phone? Did Ronny Walker ever use your phone? That was the first time you were ever asked that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You didn't volunteer that to me either, did you?
No, sir.
I was the one who was like, hey, has anyone else ever used your phone? Has Ronny Walker ever used your phone? And that's when you told me yes, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So had someone asked you that before, would you have given the same answer?
Yes, sir.
Now that individual that we talked about, Day, you know, right?
Yes, sir.
And you indicated he was not in the car with you all that night.
No, sir.
What about the next day when you all went to the hospital? Was he in the car with you all that day?
No, sir.
Was he with you all the next day when you all went to Tampa General Hospital?
No, sir.
Now, Mr. Creed, did you at any time ever did you ever know that the victim's phone was still in the car after
No,
she was
sir.
shot? Did you at any time ever get rid of that phone?
No, sir.
Did you at any time ever clean that car out at all?
No, sir.
Did you at any time ever clean the rugs, clean the seats, anything like that?
No, sir.
Did you at any time ever remove any casings that might have been in the car?
No, sir.
Did you even see any casings in the car?
No, sir.
And Mr. Creed, you understand that the reason you're facing these 30 years is that you lied for Ronny Walker. You understand that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you know you can get up to 30 years. There's been no agreement about what you're going to get, right? Has there been any agreement about what you're going to get?
No, sir.
You could get the full 30 years.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Dunker asked you about this battery second or subsequent. That's basically a second misdemeanor. It becomes a felony. Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir.
All right. And it was pled to time served. Did you ever talk to me about that? Or was there any sort of agreement between us about what you would get on that case?
No, sir.
In fact, wasn't the victim in that case uncooperative and didn't want to even prosecute?
I really don't know, sir.
You don't remember? And so you don't know what happened in that case, but you know there was no agreement with me, correct?
Correct.
And at the time, that basically misdemeanor battery that's now felony because it's a second one, at the time that was holding you in jail. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you pled to time served, that was almost a year basically that you had served for that.
Yes, sir.
Now, Miss Dunker spent a long time talking about all the questions that Detective Whelan was trying to get you to talk about. You were reluctant to talk, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
You didn't want to talk about what happened because, as you've indicated earlier, you were scared. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you want to give volunteer information?
Because I was scared he was going to do something to me when he found out.
Okay. But you ultimately did tell Detective Whelan what you've told us here today.
Objection leading.
Did you ultimately tell Detective Whelan what you told us here today?
Yes, sir.
Did you tell him that just because he told you to tell us that?
No, sir.
Did you tell us what you told us because it's what he said, or is it because what really happened?
It's because that would really happen.
And when Detective Whelan was telling you that this is what happened, it was what happened. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you at the time after this occurred, did you want to get a hold of your cousin?
Yes, sir.
Did you kind of want to get away from the situation that you were in?
Yes, sir.
Were you trying to reach your cousin?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall if you used the phone that was in the car, Erica Sweet's phone, to call your cousin?
No, sir.
You don't recall if you did or not?
Not physically.
Okay. Do you know if Ronny Walker helped you try and call your cousin?
No, sir.
Right. Was Erica Sweet's phone in the car? Do you remember?
I don't know about that.
As far as this neighborhood, where you all live, it's what called Belmont Heights. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do a lot of people know each other?
Yes, sir.
All the people around the neighborhood kind of know each other, know other people who know other people, kind of thing. It's a small kind of community.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So does it seem strange to you that you loaned a phone to a friend who actually knew Nilexia if she
sir.
lived in the neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
That seems strange to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It seems strange to you that she may know that your cousin, that the friend of yours daughter may know Nilexia if they live in the same neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you know Nilexia?
No, sir.
Did you ever call Nilexia?
No, sir.
No further questions, Judge.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take about a 5 or 10 minute break for the court, and we'll see you when we get back.
All right, for the group.
Okay, so they about to go on break. I am gonna put us past that, but I mean, we are talking about grown men. Why is any 14-year-old or 15-year-old in the neighborhood utilizing your phone to call anyone? And this seems too much of a coincidence for me to believe that one of his friend's daughters actually was a friend with the young girl who was murdered, Nilexia. Like, that seems like too much of a coincidence for me. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about that? Is this a coincidence? Like, I know the world is small, but I just don't see it being this small. And then they coming to this point where now we have lost a young life. A young life was taken way too soon. And it appears for no reason. Like, I mean, nothing deserves for a person to lose their life regardless. But I mean, this really seems very senseless to me. And I really just don't understand how these old men, if I'm not mistaken, he's like 40 something, are dealing with 14 and 15-year-olds. When Ronny picked up this 14 or 15-year-old and this grown man, Quincy, is sitting in the car, sick, ill, whatever he want to call it, slumped over in the passenger side, he should have been questioning that, especially at that time of night. Like, really? Okay. I'm not gonna rant too long. Let me get us past this break for them.
A.
Okay, here we
Creed, how you
go.
doing?
All right, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Creed, one of the things that kind of came up when we were talking a little while ago is back in that time period, right around when Nilexia was killed, did you have a place that you lived permanently?
No, sir.
Did you have your own apartment?
No, sir.
Were you just kind of living wherever you could during that time period?
Yes, sir.
Would you sometimes stay at Ronny Walker's place?
Yes, sir.
Where would you stay?
At Ronny Walker's girlfriend house.
Okay. And was it uncommon, or was it common for you to stay there from time to time during that time period?
Yes, sir.
All right. Back specifically, I'm going to show you a record that's already been introduced into evidence of State's Exhibit 30A. Do you remember your phone number back then?
I just remember like a 525.
Does that look right? 525-7245?
Yes, sir.
All right. And during the time period of April 29th to May 1st, which was about the weekend before this happened, where were you staying at that time period?
At Ronny Walker's girlfriend house.
All right. So during this time period, the only time periods where Nilexia's phone number comes up on your phone, that during that time period, you were staying at Erica Sweet's place?
Yes, sir.
All right. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Is it your testimony now today that you recall the specific dates or the specific weekend of April 30th going into the early part of May? You remember specifically staying at Mr. Walker's residence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you remember when the police first interviewed you and they were asking you about the places where you stay? You remember
Yes,
that?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And you told them that you stay with your brother, Arthur, or with your girlfriend in St. Pete, correct?
Correct.
Never once did you ever say that you stay with Ronny Walker. Is that also correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in fact, the only time you've ever said that you stay with Ronny Walker was today talking with Mr. Terry, correct?
Correct.
And during that deposition that you gave just a couple of weeks ago, page 18, lines 9 through 17, I asked you, how about when you got a little bit older? Did you maintain friendships with him then, him being Ronny Walker? Responded, yeah, we cool. Question, when you say you're cool, tell me a little bit, like, what was your relationship like? Answer, like, I just gone from the hood. Question, all right. I mean, is this like a best friend? Are you guys together all the time? Answer, no, not really. Question, no, just sort of here and there. Answer, yeah. Those were the answers you gave at that time, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing else. Thank you.
Can you reiterate? Later. And just change the price real quick. On the bell.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Can you please state your full name for the record?
David Antonio White.
Okay.
Make sure you remember, pull that microphone in closer so that everyone can hear you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Sir, are you currently employed?
Yes,
Where do you work?
self-employed. My company is WRS Property Services.
Okay. Now, sir, do you know Ronny Walker?
Yes,
How do you know him?
we're childhood friends.
Okay. Do you see Ronny Walker in the courtroom today?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Can you please identify him by an article of clothing and where he's sitting?
And he has
Let me see what's going on here. Let me check this out. Give me 1 second here, guys. Let me see where we're at. They must have ended the live stream. So let me check this out and get us back where we're at, because I want to hear what he got to say. What is he testifying to? Give me 1 second here. I tell you, this testimony so far, boy, oh boy. Give me a second, guys. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to find where we were at. I know. Let's see here. Ay, ay, ay. I tell you. I may have to just restart the stream, unfortunately, right? We get into some other gritty details, but thank goodness we were able to get past Mr. Quincy with all his inconsistencies and be able to see the direct and the cross examination. I'll restart the live feed as soon as I can get everything back up here, and we'll continue on with the testimony. Until then, guys,